If you're watching this video right now, I know that you would like to be more confident. Not because you elected to watch this specific video, but because you're human, and all humans on the planet pretty much would like to be more confident. But there's a really big difficulty when it comes to self-confidence, which is that there are a lot of misconceptions about what self-confidence is, misconceptions that make it harder for us to build self-confidence in the first place. So today what I want to do is I want to tell you 5 aspects of self-confidence that I almost never see talked about on YouTube or anywhere in the literature when it comes to building self-confidence. And as someone who's been doing this work with men, building their self-esteem for the last 15 years, it's critical that more people know this so that they can build their own self-esteems with or without a coach. So the first thing I have to mention, which I think some of you already know, and that is there is a big difference between situational confidence and core confidence. Now, situational confidence is often mistaken with competence. So if there is something that you're good at because you've done a lot, because you've studied it, because you do it for work, because it's your hobby, and you have a lot of competence, often you become very confident about it. So if you go and dance a lot of salsa because you've done lots of salsa classes and go out every weekend, you are now confident at salsa. And if someone talks to you at salsa, in a space where you feel highly competent, you are going to come across as a really confident guy or gal. And we'll have it in all sorts of areas, right? You could be the confident guy in chess club. You could be the confident guy in your programming group, right? Or at work with a bunch of programmers. You may be highly confident in that space, even bordering on arrogant because you're so competent. But it's not the same as core confidence, because core confidence is really what comes up with things that you're not competent at. How do you address those things? How do you deal with situations where you lack complete competence? So with this point in mind, it shouldn't be a surprise that one of the ways to build your self-confidence is to regularly do things that you are incompetent at or that you lack competency. I was lucky in life because I'm addicted to learning. So I love taking on new skill sets and trying to learn it. Making videos, photography, salsa, programming, learning to be better with women, meditation, goodness, all these different skills like FPV drone flying, right? Huge skill cap, and I still feel like I'm highly incompetent most of the time. But I love that, and by doing that, by constantly doing things that I'm incompetent at, because I love learning, I was lucky that I learned that I can tackle things that I'm incompetent at and still feel great about it afterwards. The second big misconception about confidence is one of the biggest, and most people suffer from this misunderstanding, which is that confidence is not a lack of insecurity. Okay, I'll say it again because it's big. Confidence does not mean you lack insecurity. Confidence is about your relationship to insecurity. Every human being on the planet, myself, I'll be the first to put up my hand, feels insecure plenty of the time. Honestly, if I walk out into a bar and I want to talk to girls, I'm going to feel insecure. 100%. Okay? It's about the relationship you have to that insecurity. How do you respond? What actions do you take when something makes you feel insecure? Do you jump and take action anyway? Do you recoil? Do you look for ways to avoid it, avoidant behaviors? Do you start talking a lot, joking a lot, all these types of avoidant things? What's your relationship to insecurity? Because you're always going to have it. I can't take away your insecurities. You can reduce how severe they feel, but you'll never get rid of them. And it's that relationship, that feeling like we have to wait until we don't feel insecure so that we can act confidently. But that's kvatch, it's rubbish. The key is you have to be the kind of person who's willing to take action even when they feel insecure. It's like a brave person isn't a person who doesn't feel fear. A brave person is a person who feels fear and takes action anyway, right? The man who runs into the burning flames to rescue a child probably feels scared shirtless, right? But he does it anyway. That's a real mark of bravery. Just like taking action even when you feel insecure is a real mark of confidence. And so it absolutely shouldn't be a surprise that one of the ways to build your confidence is to regularly do things that you feel insecure about. Now, that sounds scary, but the reality is that you can start small, little things that you feel insecure about. I don't know what it is. We've all got our little bits and pieces that we feel a little bit into, maybe in the office space, we generally don't like voicing our opinions at an office meeting, or asking the boss for a day off, or, you'd rather do it by email rather than in person. Little things that we do due to insecurity, do them regularly. Make a habit. Do I feel insecure about this? Oh, damn it, now I've got to do it. with the small stuff. And that will build, right? Your locus of control around insecurity will build. And that's one of the ways to build your true core confidence. The third misconception follows on from the second, which is that insecurity is not the enemy of self-confidence. Shame is. Shame is toxic because shame is a concern, is an obsession with how other people are going to feel about the actions that you take. Shame takes all responsibility away from yourself and puts it on other people. So you no longer get to control how you feel about something that you do. Other people's responses to you are going to control that. Shame is scary, but shame can be overcome far more easily than we realize because shame has a mortal enemy. The more people you tell about the things you're ashamed of, the less power shame has over you. So let me give you an example. Very often I'm coaching guys in a bar or club. And like I said, you don't have to be secure, like you can be insecure and confident at the same time. So very often, if they're feeling really insecure, I'll get them to say, hey, admit it to the women that you're talking to. When you approach them, go, hey, it's totally random. I got to admit, I feel totally nervous right now, but I had to come over and say I thought you were cute. Admit to the thing you're ashamed of, right? Don't try to hide it. And when women get to talking, and when you start to have a conversation with these women, in the beginning, start telling some of those women that you feel ashamed about approaching them, that you feel ashamed about other people watching or how other people are going to judge you. Now, I don't say that because it's going to make the woman want to jump your bones. Most of the time it's not. But when you do this action, which is telling women that you just approached, that you feel ashamed about it or embarrassed about it, or you think other people are going to judge you, it is massively empowering to you because you are not hiding. Shame requires us to hide from it. And when you start admitting to the shame, to the people you are ashamed of discovering what you might be doing, it suddenly loses its control over you. So if you do this with a number of women, for example, if you're a guy, you're going to find that, hey, maybe you'll have no success with those women. But the shame you feel approaching after that will reduce dramatically. You do that 3, 4, 5 times, like admit the shame that you have with women, you're going to suddenly notice it holds you back a hell of a lot less. And you can do this with anything that you're ashamed of, okay? This is a channel about being more confident with women, but you can do this in the workplace. You can do this with your hobbies. You can do this in your social life, in your personal life, in all aspects of your life. Anything that you notice a shame about, you want to get in the habit of telling people about it, like opening it up, exposing it. Shame can't live when it's exposed. It really can't. It feels scary to do. That's why we're ashamed of it in the first place. But I promise you, try it with something small and you can discover how empowering it is to own the things that you're ashamed of. The fourth big misconception is that if you're confident, you're no longer afraid of failure or rejection. That is, it is such a toxic belief that we have that most guys I work with, they're holding out, hoping, waiting that one day they're not going to feel scared of rejection. They're not going to feel scared of failing, which is the big one, right? None of us want to fail. But the thing is that that's not how it works. You're always going to be scared of failing. You're always going to be scared of rejection. It's the fact that you're willing to be rejected, the fact that you're willing to make a mistake that makes you confident. It's your willingness to do it, not the feelings that you have. You're going to notice this as a theme over and over and over again when it comes to self-confidence. Self-confidence is more of an action that you take. I'm in the habit of doing things even though I'm embarrassed. I'm in the habit of doing things even though I'm afraid of failure. I'm going to do them anyway. And that's really the mark of confidence. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that the way to build your confidence in this area is to regularly fail at things, and fail because you tried and got it wrong. If you live a lifestyle where you are not regularly trying things and failing, you are going to start to become failure avoidant. There's something we say in men's work, which is that a man should always live at his edge. Now, this doesn't just apply to men, it applies to men and women. If you're living at the edge of what you're comfortable with, constantly a little bit pushing at the boundaries, oh, I feel insecure here, oh, I'm worried about failing here, oh, I'm worried about being rejected here, but you do them anyway, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your core self-confidence will begin to skyrocket because now you're someone who's in the habit of doing these things. The fifth misconception is going to surprise a lot of people, which is To be self-confident, you need to be willing to be entitled. And this is a tricky one because in our current society, entitlement is almost a bad word. To be entitled means that you think you deserve something that you don't. The problem is that the world is more full of people who deserve something and don't think they do. There's far more of those in the world. Yes, I know there are people, there are men, there are women who just feel entitled to everything and they don't deserve anything there without putting in any work. I know those people exist. But the biggest problem, most pervasive problem for most people is they deserve a hell of a lot more than they think that they do. And so they never act like they're entitled to the thing that they've worked for. They always want to hold back. You know, you might be a guy, you have no idea how many guys come to me. They've worked really hard in their careers, they've worked hard on themselves, they're really decent human beings. And when it comes to dating, it's like, yeah, why would someone want to date me? Meanwhile, I tell my female friends about these guys and my friends are like, oh my God, send him my way. I want a guy like that. That happens a lot, all the time. It doesn't just happen to men, it happens to women as well. There are a lot of women who miss out in the dating industry because, they miss out in the dating social world because they're not entitled enough. And yes, being entitled requires you to know the difference between what you do and don't deserve. Deserve what you are and are not entitled to. You are far better off to occasionally cross the line and ask for things that you're not entitled to than to never do it at all. In fact, I'd go so far as to say, if you aren't told that you're not ready for something, that you're not good enough yet, that you need to work harder, that why would you say that you're not ready? It's not time. If you're not being told that, regularly, I mean, hey, once a month at least, if you're not being told that by people, you're not pushing far enough. You are far below the line. Most people think if this is the line of being badly entitled, okay, most people are down here. And when they push a little bit, they end up here, which is still nowhere close to here. It's hard. It's one of these really hard things to explain, but you need to start being ready to have someone push you back. If you're never getting pushed back, you're never pushing far enough. You're never being entitled enough. And it's a hard thing to teach because entitlement is thought of as such a negative thing. But you got to own it. You got to own the fact that, hey, if I go and talk to a woman, I deserve for her to like me. I deserve for her to give me attention. I deserve these things. Now, she might not give it, and you do not have a right to be angry at her for it, but you do deserve it, right? There is an entitlement to it. If you go up to a woman and you feel entitled to be liked, she's way more likely to like you than if you go in there and you feel like, she's not going to like me anyway. I don't even know why I try. I'm not really very likable. I don't deserve to be liked, right? It's that entitlement that needs to come in. Now, entitlement is hard to build by itself. I get it. But you need to, first of all, be okay to ask for more things. A lot of you watching, a simple example, a lot of you watching probably should be asking for a raise at work. Should be asking for the role you want, or a different role, or a better role, or, whatever it is. And you might think, I don't know if I really should go for it. I don't know. You need to go for it. A lot of you should be asking for support from your friends, from your family, and you think, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to pester them. You should be asking. So there are a lot of areas outside of dating where entitlement needs to come into play, where it's like, I deserve this. One thing I've got to say about entitlement is this. Entitlement becomes toxic when you get angry if someone doesn't give you what you think you're entitled to. Okay, that's where it becomes toxic. At all times, entitlement is just knowing that you deserve something. And if you don't get it, that's okay, but you deserve to ask. You deserve to hope for it. You deserve to look for it or ask for it. You need to give yourself that permission. And that, I think, is the hardest one on this whole list to change without changing the others first. So I hope this gives you guys something to think about. Self-confidence is such a meaty topic. But these 5 things, they're really big ones that no one ever tells us. And if you just work on them, in that way that I suggested, you should notice a big improvement in 1 month, 2 months, in 3 months' time. You should be a much more core, confident person than you ever have been in the past. As always, guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is there some other big misconception about confidence I haven't mentioned? Let me know. I'd be really eager to hear your answer.